Cambodia Limited specialized bank as representative from Cambodia Chamber of Commerce. Please welcome Mr. Elmer Maloros. Together with Group Chief Economist, C Limited Group, please welcome Dr. Santi Than Sathian Thai. Please welcome. Also together, we have an honor to have Director SMB Merchants Channels and Partnerships Southeast Asia of PayPal. Please give a big round of applause to welcome Mr. Nagesh Divatan. Next, please join me in welcoming Co-Presidents Essence Money Company Limited. คุณธัญพงษ์ธรรมาวรานุทิน Please welcome. So ladies and gentlemen, I will hand these sessions to our moderator, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. It's my honor to be a moderator for this session. Actually, I like to start this session with my story a little bit. Actually, 2 years ago in this forum, CLMVT forum, I was a speaker at the session, and I luckily found my partner. Today we launched the business in Myanmar with a good partnership starting from this forum years ago. And that's why maybe Ministry of Commerce want to use me again as a moderator today. My name is Patai. I'm a CEO and co-founder of Build One Group, which is we develop software for construction industry in Southeast Asia. And I also a former president of Thailand Tech Startup Association. So my background is on for startup scenes, not just, I'm quite a newbie in digital trade. So today I would like to learn from you guys and let's see what is moving on in CLMVT digital trade scenes, okay? I think I would like to have an introduction session with each of the panelists. Let them give us an introduction what they are working on and about their business and their industry. Start with His Excellency Dr. U Ong Chu. Could you please introduce your, Commerce, Ministry of Commerce and what's going on in Myanmar now?
Thank you. I'm not a doctor because my minister is Dr. Tamni, but he would like to come here but not able to make it. So I was in his place, replacing him. Our Minister of Commerce usually do trade policy, and what we do in Myanmar now is doing some kind of liberalization. We had under previous government a lot of restriction on import and export. Now we are making a reform to liberalize as much as possible. And recently we had made some changes, but there is also had a lot of resistance from local and also abroad people. The first one is before the wholesale and retail market were not allowed to the foreign companies. So now we open up for the retail and wholesale foreign company to do business in Myanmar. And the second one is the traditional trade about the live cattle and buffaloes. In the past, they go on a smuggling route from Myanmar to China and to Thailand as well. And then we legalize it so that now the legal trade is going on. And for the digital trade, I think we are the very latecomers. But as a latecomer, we also had some kind of advantages.
Yeah.
So we would like to leapfrog to certain digital trade. So we, in fact, we are very beginners on the digital trade. We had a lot of problem that our leader discussed.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So next, Mr. Elmer Malo, CEO of Wing Cambodia, and as a representative of Cambodia Chamber of Commerce, right? Please.
Yes, good afternoon to everybody, and it's a pleasure for me as CEO of Wing to be here, but also representing the Cambodia Chamber of Commerce. So maybe as a starter, Wing Cambodia is a mobile financial services company, basically registered as a specialized bank dealing with payments. So principally, we are on a consumer. Our customers are mainly consumers, right? So we have about 3 million customers who are regularly going through our agents, processing electronic payments, sending money, paying bills, paying their loans, paying premiums, and we're connected to about 350 corporate companies, which is now the link to the trade business, because we are connected to hundreds of FMCG companies where we process payments for them, for their suppliers, to their retailers, distributors to retailers. We're also connected to a few banks for source of funding. We're also connected to about 25,000 SMEs, right, which we process also payroll or some payments. So Wing is effectively a bank where, but it's a branchless banking unit where our branches are 5,000 agents which are independently operating, right? So Wing for the past 10 years have been operating from the learning curve of financial inclusion. We're in,
10 years ago.
We started 10 years ago. We learned a lot of lessons. Now we're getting swiftly into the digital space. So we have our footprint comprises of about, again, I said 3 million customers. We have 5,000 agents. We have partnered with about 25,000 SMEs. We have partnership with 90% of all MFIs, where most of their borrowers are actually paying their loans to our agents. So it's a huge footprint that basically encompasses the entire Cambodia. And quite recently, the main focus have been around trade, the trade ecosystem. We're in, as we have dealt with the peer-to-peer, consumer-to-consumer transfer of money, as we have dissected the market deeper, we're dealing with really poor people. They call themselves cashless because they don't have cash, right? So to people who are unbanked, to people who are just on an earning phase, those who are now capable of saving, those who are capable of investing. So we have found out, for example, partners with Coca-Cola, for example, right? Before, we were just processing payments of retailers to our agents to their distributors. Now they're now processing, distributor to payment, so that the distributors don't need to, the truck drivers don't need to carry cash, right? So we're starting it on a bit-to-bit pace, because this is to us a major learning, because you have to educate the market. People still want to hold on cash, right? So we're dealing with farmers. We have partnerships with a lot of MFIs that lend to farmers. So previously they carry, $1 is equivalent to 4,000 real. So if you have $250 worth of payment for your loan, it's about $1 million. Yeah, it's about 1.5 million that you can put in a bag, right? So before they used to carry bags to pay their loans or to pay their the lending company. Now they use Wing to transfer money electronically. All they need to do is basically go to an agent, put enough money on their wallet and all that. So it's been a very good transition. That's why I think now the ecosystem And this does not only go for Wing. There are a lot of new players coming in, a lot of digital innovations coming in that enhances the ecosystem. But the good thing about it is that Cambodia is now ripe for this, simply because the farmers are using it, the garment workers are using it, the fishermen are starting to use it, the teachers are now starting to use it. So they're starting to use it, and they're now starting to be familiar with it. You know, one of the major experience that we had is that we have about 150,000 people on payroll. But the first thing they normally do is withdraw all the cash, right? You know, I receive $150 as my salary. The wallet has a facility to transfer money electronically for free. But what they do, they go to an agent, they withdraw $150, pay 50 cents, and then send it again, send the $149 to the wife for another 50 cents, right? So, but now they understand that it's a lot cheaper, and so that's a matter of education. So this is, I think, the foundation also of enhancing a trade ecosystem, which we're now finding out.
For the next round question about development of Cambodian digital trade market. So next, Dr. Santithan Sathian Thai, Group Chief Economist of C Limited. Please introduce your business and what you've done for the region.
Right,
You have a slide, right?
I have a slide, actually. First of all, thank you very much for the Ministry of Commerce for having me here with a very distinguished panel. Very happy to be here. Quick introduction of the C Group. We are a regional technology company operating in ASEAN and Taiwan. We, by many definitions, not really a unicorn anymore because we sort of graduated from being a unicorn last year. We went IPO in a New York Stock Exchange. It's a big moment for us, and it's actually, I think, the first ASEAN internet company to win IPO in a New York Stock Exchange. So that was an important milestone. A lot of work to do after that, but it's a great experience. Though I think people know us much better for our business. We have three main businesses, the brands, and just to show that, yes, okay. Well, we do three things. One is Garena, one is Choppy, and one is Ape. Garena is a digital entertainment, basically online games. We are one of the probably biggest in the Southeast Asia region. I'm also very passionate about the upcoming sector of esports. So a very big supporter of esports. For those of you unfamiliar with this, is basically you watch people playing games for competition. Now that may not sound like a big thing, but
it is in the Asian Games.
It is in the Asian Games right now. Yeah, it's actually in Palembang Games. It is one of the demonstration sports. One of our games, ROV or AOV, is one of the games there as well. And actually, you look at the stats, it's quite amazing. For Thailand alone, there's, in Thailand, 18 million gamers. About 2-3 months ago, we organized our big event in Thailand in Baitek, Bang Na, called Garena World. 2 days, we have 240,000 people turn up to watch. That's offline. Online, we have almost 11 million watch over the 2 days. So if you were in Baitek area and the traffic was really bad, that was partly our fault for that day, really sorry. But part of it is BNK48 concert as well, so not just us. So that's sort of the esports. Then we have a...
How big is the market of gaming today?
It's rapidly growing. I think if you look at the esport watcher globally, it's actually bigger than the Major League Baseball. It's actually getting close to NBA. So the League of Legends, one of the most popular games, during the finals, the number of viewers is actually more than NBA finals. And it's still rapidly growing, 15-20% of this watcher each year. So it's very, very exciting space. It's a new space, which means, since you talk about leapfrogging, I think that's where a lot of people in our region can definitely tap into. Our second business is Shopee. It's e-commerce business, relatively new. It's 2015. One thing I want to highlight about Shopee is that we are a bit different from the typical e-commerce business where we typically think of B2C, where it's you have branded goods and you just sell branded goods to consumers. For us, it's much more about helping SMEs. We call ourselves a C2C, consumer-to-consumer marketplace, meaning that we help SMEs, micro-entrepreneurs, connect them to the market, to the consumers, and we help them with digital tools, how to market their products, how to help promote them. We work a lot with the government, Ministry of Commerce, SME Promotion Office. We onboarded recently about 1,500 of SMEs on board and help them boost sales. A lot of them see sales jumped 80 to 100% within just a few months getting online. So that's a really big part of the business. We are one of the major players now in the region as well. We connected over 200 million orders last year alone, and still growing about 200% each year. And last not least is the wallet payments, which is basically, we think of it as a payment infrastructure to support both the gaming and the e-commerce. Apart from supporting those two, there are also other use cases, about 300 use cases. In Thailand, we have over 100,000 counters where you can top up the money. So that's more like the fintech part of our business. So those are three prongs that we're typically known for. The whole group is known as the C Group.
What are your current footprint in the region? It's for CLMVT.
Yeah. So we operate in ASEAN plus Taiwan, but in CLMVT we are in the V and the T. We think actually CLM are very interesting markets, but we haven't actually ventured there yet. We focus on Thailand and Vietnam right now.
Okay, thank you. So next, Mr. Nagesh Divata from PayPal. Yeah, please. We all know PayPal, but let's hear more from you.
But thank you very much for the introduction, and it's a pleasure to be here today with all of you and the opportunity to be here with the panelists. I'm glad to hear that PayPal is known, but I'll take the opportunity to give just a quick introduction of who PayPal is, for those of you who might not be that familiar. PayPal's a global company, and I think you may have heard of it over the many years. Where PayPal originated was very much from the perspective to help businesses seamlessly go online, to help consumers feel very safe and secure when they shop online. And at the core of what PayPal tries to do is connect buyers and sellers and reduce the friction, the challenges that we all face when it comes to shopping online. And I think all of us can appreciate the challenges that we as consumers have had when we go online, feelings of ensuring that there's trust and confidence. These are really very much at the core of what PayPal tries to do. And in terms of PayPal in this part of the world, it's a tremendous opportunity when we look at what's happening with digital commerce, with mobile commerce, the transformation from offline to online and how that's becoming very seamless. We recognize the demands that merchants are sharing. We see this across Southeast Asia, for example, where merchants that, if you wanted to call them, were very analog, and now suddenly are becoming digital. So it's really a very exciting time to help them go through this transformative journey. It's helping businesses, and this is why we get very excited, it's helping businesses realize their potential beyond just the borders of their country. It's helping them access customers globally. It's helping them access customers within the region. And at the same time, for all of us as consumers to feel very confident when we want to shop online and really connect the dots. So from our perspective as PayPal, I think we see this as the ability from the perspective of financial literacy, education, comprehension, empowerment, and really delivering this with a view of safety and security, and to connect all these dots. And this is why I think a forum like this is really critical. As I would say, this is not a race. It's a marathon that we've got to drive through. And I think the opportunity for these countries is to put their scale together and to be able to create relevance in a way that maybe one country cannot, but as a group of countries, it can be very powerful to realize the potential of digital commerce.
Thank you. And by the way, so thinking about PayPal, we're thinking about this cross-border money transfer, or is it any wrong understanding of what PayPal is?
I would start by sort of broadening out the definition. It's really about empowerment. It's not so much about just simply financial services. I like to think about it as if I was a business, and we support businesses whether they're large, mid-size, small business. It's the ability to take that business, quickly go online, activate it, and start to be able to engage with you as a customer, and for us to have trust and be able to buy and sell. So I think it's really at that core of enabling digital commerce, and what goes around that, I think, is what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, yeah. So thank you. So the last one is Mr. Thanyapong Thammawaranipup, co-president of Asset Money, please.
So thank you, I'm very honored to be here. So Asset Money, we are actually operated under brand name of True Money. We are a subsidiary. We have two shareholders. One of the shareholders is the CP Group. It's a big conglomerate in Thailand. And the other of our shareholders is Ant Financial. We are currently operating in 6 countries. Thailand as a headquarter. We also have operation in Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, Cambodia, and Myanmar.
With all digital wallet license.
Yeah. We have the license in 6 countries, but the model that we are going in different countries are different. In Thailand, we focus primarily on the wallet side. So in Thailand, we currently have about 12 million registered users, and our wallet can be used in both online and offline. On online, people can do bill payment, can do mobile top up, can purchase digital goods and goods online. Offline, people can also make retail payment where in these various retail shops in Thailand. At the moment, we have about 50,000 shops who accept True Money Wallet for payment in Thailand. So that's True Money in Thailand. In the rest of the 5 countries, our model is to primarily focus on the agent banking. In the 5 countries in the region, we have 75,000 agents in 5 countries. So our agents provide basic payment services, mostly sort of the term normally called mobile money. So customer will walk into our agent, give cash to our agent, and our agent will do the transaction for customer, and that would include mobile top up, bill payment, domestic remittance, and international remittance. So we have grown the number of agents significantly during the last 2 years. Actually, our company is quite young. Internationally, we only have the operation in the last two and a half years. So we are very new in all these countries, but we have grown very aggressively in all these 5 countries. We are currently serving outside Thailand. We are currently serving about 4 million users on a monthly basis. So these are people who walk into our agent on a monthly basis. The reason we use the agent model is because we see that in the 5 countries, especially on the CLMVT outside Thailand, there are significant portion of unbanked population. So with unbanked population, it might be challenge to convert the customer who currently are using cash to pure wallet, day one. So our strategy in international is more of the hybrid model, where we'll migrate the customer to use instead of informal channel, to start using the agent channel. From the agent channel, then we migrate them to be online on wallet. We have the wallet license on all these 5 countries, but the wallet license that we are currently using is basically using for the agent wallet. Only in selective country, which is Vietnam and Cambodia now, where we have the wallet in CLMV.
Okay. So, sorry if I missed it. So, next, other 5 countries that you operate is Indonesia, Myanmar, Cambodia, Vietnam,
Philippines.
and Philippines. Okay, that is 5 countries outside Thailand. Okay, so that is our experts on stage today. Talking about digital trade, I think it's not just payment. So you might heard a lot of payment things, but digital trade is a combination of many things. A lot of stakeholders there, right? From buyer, seller. Payment is infrastructure for this, but it's also including in e-commerce, platform, warehousing, logistics, custom clearance for cross-border trading. So there are many things talking about digital trade development in this region. I would like to dig deeper into the current situation of each country because we want to understand each country and then combine it as a whole of a CLMVT region and see the next development as a region and a sub-region. So, His Excellency, Mr. Tu, could you please elaborate more about the current situation on digital trade in Myanmar?
As a regulator, we are trying to regulate the business. Why we say regulate the business? Whether we regulate or not, the digital trade is going on.
Yes.
So in different way. So some of the company start doing the e-commerce website informally. So I think we need to bring them to a formal sector. So they are doing within the country, and even they are doing cross the border. I was surprised because I saw at the border of China, some of the people are ordering the Chinese company, especially from
AliExpress.
AliExpress, yeah. And then the Chinese national can only use that one. And then this arrived to the border area, and then they cross the border as a border trade. And then they deliver it to customer inside the country. So this is an informal way of, it is a hybrid of, the digital commerce. And also in the Thai-Myanmar border as well also, they are doing some kind of, the Thai people may order on behalf of Myanmar people, and then they cross the border through border trade and then send it to their home. So this one is going on. So for us, when we want to promote the e-commerce, we think whether we should regulate this or we should encourage them to come to the formal one. So and now in our ministry, we are thinking we will only encourage them and facilitate them to become to the formal e-commerce trade. So this is the approach.
How is the entrepreneur in Myanmar take into the online commerce? I've heard that Myanmar is a Facebook country.
Yes,
I mean, like it should be like social commerce. People sell things to Facebook, is it?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
That's true. In Myanmar, I think last 5 years ago, there may be access to mobile connection is maybe less than 20, and then now it's about 105% now.
Penetration rate.
Penetration
Wow,
rate.
cool.
Yeah. And also, internet penetration rate is also about 80%. And then when the contact make a study, said Myanmar is the smartphone first country and also a Facebook first country. So we thought using this Facebook, because we are under the military government speech, and when they use this kind of Facebook, they are expressing themselves. It's a way of democracy. But at the same time also, there are hate speech and false news are coming in, so that create some problem for us. So what we would like to do is, we had a mobile penetration, we had an internet penetration that has to be used for digital trade. So first, we would like to legalize this trade. And our approach is that instead of asking them to register by force, what we are encouraging that by themselves, the e-commerce businessmen, we will form a digital commerce association.
Do you already have?
We are starting to do now. We are collecting the information, but we are not forcing them to do, but they have to do by themselves. And then it will come out, and then we will facilitate this association to become a formal organization. So in this way, we will try to encourage them.
What about the credit card penetration?
Yeah, credit card penetration is also very, very low. The bank, less than 20% of the people have bank account.
Yeah.
So we have to find another innovative way. That is that everybody talk about this e-wallet or mobile payment. So people talk about cashless, and also people talk about cardless. So cardless. So if they had a phone at their hand, and it can be a wallet for them. So no need to have a bank account, no need to have a credit card, but they can engage in e-commerce kind of thing. So like True Money, I just talked about, they are sending money back home. Before they are informal money transfer agent, we call Ondi. Now that we're using through this agent banking, they are sending money. So this become a more legal business. So for us as a regulator, we would like to encourage e-commerce growing in Myanmar, and we will try to encourage them. Only when they break the law, seriously, then we will take action against them.
Thank you. So what about Cambodia? You already introduced a little bit about, it seems like even the farmer can use digital payment in Cambodia. So what is the current situation? They are moving forward into cashless or not? Or please elaborate more.
Yeah, well, as a process of digitalization, as I said earlier, we're taking it one step at a time, because a lot of the issues in the ecosystem really rests on major factors like source of funds, right? The only reason why we're able to facilitate the farmers, garment workers getting slowly into the digital space, paying their loans through the wallet, is because we have 5,000 agents. We are 10 times more than the branches of banks combined, right? There are about 1,232 ATMs in Cambodia. We have 5,300 human ATMs in agents, right? So there are about 600 bank branches in Cambodia. We have 1,300. So I think, and this is the ability to be able to put your money, just like a bank, right? You put your money in your wallet and you can do anything about your wallet, but that goes to a lot of education. So we're quite successful moving that in because we've penetrated the entire Cambodia 100%. So this is where we are now cooperate with regulators, right? So everything is new, there's not much of a regulation on e-commerce.
Elmer, there's something sticking in my head. You talk about Wing started 10 years ago. 10 years ago, that there's less technology than today. That is the first smartphone out there.
Yeah.
So how Wings operate as a digital wallet?
So 10 years ago, there was already a feature phone,
Yeah,
right?
only feature phone.
And then the phenomenon of mobile money started 2004 or something, wherein more people have phones than money, right? So you know, even a $2 a day earner has a phone, and that's the beginning of mobile money. So 2009, when we started this, they started it with that concept already. Put wallets immediately, right? And it failed miserably, right? In 2011, instead of closing shop, you know, ANZ, which is the bank that owned it, basically transferred ownership to a local entrepreneur who focused on agent banking first. So because in Cambodia, if the behavior is like, you know, I don't want to do it on my phone. Can you do it for me? That's why the agent banking system, you know, made it big. And now, you know, we have about 3 million customers doing that because they, you know, and in fact, the uniqueness in us is that even if it's still fintech, because in all of our agents we have a POS terminal, right? Initially, we tried phones, which is cheap. I don't need to buy a terminal, but they don't want phone. They want to see a receipt coming out. When I transfer money, they want to see. So all of my agents are equipped with the POS. It's a huge investment, but this is what they want to use. So then they migrate. Now, you know, our app in Cambodia is equipped with a MasterCard prepaid card. So everybody, including a farmer who has a Wing wallet, also has a 16-digit MasterCard number. You can use it for QR code payments. That includes a MasterPass QR code payment. So we have this QR on all tuk-tuks, 8,000 tuk-tuk drivers being equipped with the payment on QR. So again, this is step by step, and everybody started to appreciate it. But again, as I said, the bottom line is that there has to be good education and cooperation with regulators, because everything is new. I mean, you cannot force a farmer to, you know, go all digital, but at the same time, from a regulator's perspective, you cannot also allow a lot of people who know more, like the Facebook sellers. I mean, these are the people right now. When we launched our MasterCard prepaid card on a Wing wallet, we didn't realize that 20% of the transactions are really coming from micro entrepreneurs boosting their Facebook. So I mean, those are things that now we start to link into the trade ecosystem.
And talking about e-commerce in Cambodia right now, how local people or domestic trade selling is happening? Who is the key players of e-commerce there?
Yeah, there is activity. Our regulator still calls it. It's still in its early stages, right? So, and I think it's not more like they don't know how. It's not like there's not much of an innovation, but it's already available to them. AliExpress is available to them. You know, going to Amazon via Vietnam or via Thailand is already available. So they still do that. Again, the key thing is the source of funds. For example, on the micro entrepreneurs using the wallet, 15% to 20% of our transactions are buying AliExpress products. So, you know, we see transactions going up. And this is a process of, you know, they buy facial masks, they sell it on Facebook. So, but eventually, I think when the regulator comes up with a framework, it will, you know, you have already the framework by which to kick it off.
Okay. So that is C and M. So LVT, the rest three. Gentlemen, talking about Vietnam market, you, Dr. Satitan, maybe help us elaborate on Vietnam and Thailand or whatever you can share.
All right, since I'm sitting, I have advantage of geography, I'm going to take the one I want first. No, but I think you know, very interesting to hear both panelists, my fellow panelists, because I think one of the key themes that run across emerging markets, ASEAN and CLMVT in particular, is that it's very easy to talk about constraints to digital trade. But one thing we learned is that operating across these markets is that where there are constraints, there are opportunities. And that's one of the biggest takeaway that we have. Just to give you examples. The digital access or access to internet is of course a crucial thing to have the digital trade going. And both of my panelists, my fellow panelists here have talked about the importance of the mobile phone revolution. So in the past, we are relying on the access to high-speed internet, broadband cable, which is still quite limited in the region.
Yeah.
But when we have this leapfrog jump into the mobile phone revolution, that changed the game so much. And that's true for our business too. Shopee is a relatively newcomer to the scene. It's only started in 2015 actually. But the reason why it grew so fast and become one of a dominant player as well, one of the major players in e-commerce, was that we focused almost entirely on mobile first generation.
Yeah.
Actually, 93% of transaction just goes to mobile. And that means you have to design a killer app. You have to be able to do payments, logistic, tracking your goods, and chat, talking to break, create bonds and break the barriers, establish trust with the sellers. Everything have to be done seamlessly in one app, and very, very friendly, very user friendly. So that's a Shopee example.
In Vietnam, you are the latecomer as well, right?
Yes,
Oh.
same thing. And both in Thailand and Vietnam, another we touched about this a bit earlier, is the online game market is really booming. And the interesting about that as well is that even though, yes, we have smartphones, I think penetration ASEAN-wide is around 47%. Smartphone Thailand is about 57%, a bit higher, but growing very fast. But still, most of the smartphones are not a really high spec, one with a lot of memories. So that's a bit problematic for a lot of the gamers because you download games take forever, keep crashing, and it's a really bad experience. So Garena made an important move recently of becoming from just publisher of games to a developer of games. And the first mission we did, the game we launched called Free Fire in December last year, was a massive success. We had daily active users now around 13 million people. And the reason for that is that we designed it for low spec phone. So it actually became massive hit in places like Vietnam, Thailand, Indonesia, and unexpectedly Brazil. Actually, we didn't expect that to happen. We actually become one of the top games over there. So digital access is one issue. Another part which I really like that you mentioned is about education. It's a digital literacy. A lot of the sellers, our internal studies suggest that they know the benefit of e-commerce, but they haven't fully leveraged it because they're not that familiar with it. And so we have Shopee University, where we help SME onboard onto the digital platform, take them through from taking photos, how to take photos from different angles, how to write product descriptions, all the way to how to use digital tools. Why is this promotion campaign not working? Why certain products sell better for certain type of customers? And the data analytics that go behind that. And the last message I want to just focus on that is that the education is a two-way process. It's not just we there and teaching them how to use it. We also learn a lot from them. And we keep adapting and changing our tools because we learn that, okay, this is the pain points, this is the pain points. We have to try to solve these pain points using the technology, and that's that way we also learn and improve with them.
So Nagesh, talking about the development of this region as PayPal, I've heard that PayPal talk about ease of use and then trust. The keyword is trust, right? So digital trade in this frontier market, emerging market is, I haven't heard about trust that much yet. Do you think it's a key issue for the region right now?
Yeah, I do think it's absolutely crucial. I think part of the reason maybe why you don't hear about trust maybe very explicitly is that when we go out and talk to a lot of small businesses across these markets, I think one of the most common things we hear is often where they start with is they're thinking very domestic. They're thinking very domestic, they're thinking very offline, and part of that's a function of comprehension or education. Right? Part of it's, I just don't know how to go online. I didn't even think I could sell overseas. I didn't even think I could access customers outside of my my borders. So a lot of that is really where trust starts to become very relevant to them. And once you start to figure out, okay, I'm going to start selling to countries in ASEAN or countries in Asia or overseas countries or to the US as an example, trust becomes absolutely critical. You need something that's going to, when you put your goods out there or your services out there, that you're going to get paid reliably. You're going to get paid on time. I think these are all challenges that, right, you want to be able to trust the person that you don't even see on the other side. You want to be very confident that that's all happening. And as a small business, you know, I don't have the tools, I don't have the skills, and that's where I need to be able to work with organizations, work with partners who can go and make those connections and take care of all of that complexity so that I feel very secure, right? So that to me is the first piece. I think the second part is that you touched on it before, is we tend to think about digital trade, or we tend to simplify it to just about payments. And reality is, again, this is really from our experience talking to small businesses. When you go and talk to them, you almost have to step back and you realize it starts even much earlier. It's like, I want to start a business. I'm an entrepreneur. Well, how do I go online? How do I create an e-shop? How do I create a web store? That's my first thing. Forget about any of the other stuff. That's the first thing. Then, well, how do I ship my goods? I need to think about logistics. Then, you know, how do I do this? What are the sort of regulatory considerations I need to think about? How do I do that? And then you start to think about, well, I want to be paid in a very efficient way. I want to be paid in a timely way. So all of these are factors that start to come in place. And then I think it gets layered in with the way people are starting to sell, right? So, you know, we talk about a market like Thailand as an example. Thailand's a massive market or a massive opportunity, and not just from an Asia perspective, but from a global perspective. When you think about social commerce, it's about selling on social platforms. Forget about just even selling and having my own shop out there. I'm going to sell on a social platform, whether it's Facebook or a platform like Kaidi or Salsuki, Instagram. These are all the platforms that you start to think about. Now you think, how do I sell on that? How do I get money on that? Right? These are all the things, and you want to be able to have trust. I don't want to be able to just sell to the guy and, hey, by the way, we're going to go meet down by the street at the 7-Eleven and let's go exchange some money in a brown bag. That's not what we want. We want security. We want to feel trusted. We want to take that pain out of it, and that's really where a solution like PayPal, frankly, we're global, right? Don't even think about us from a domestic or an ASEAN perspective. It's to be able to have a very trusted connection wherever you are in the world.
Is there any tipping point of massive trust that created in other countries that you've seen?
Well, I think, like, you know, when we think about trust or that tipping point, it doesn't happen overnight. And you know, I look back on the journey of PayPal. I mean, this is a journey that's happened over the last, 15, 20 years of going one by one, country by country, and that's not easily replicated, right? I think that tipping point starts to come when you as a business or you as an entrepreneur are trying to actually get something back from somebody else who's bought a good or service. And, I use an example. In Thailand, just, freelancers. Freelancers, we're starting to see this as an emerging sector in Thailand, similar to the Philippines. We're seeing platforms out there where you have independent tour guides. You have entrepreneurs selling on platforms like Cookly, or how do you do that, right? So that becomes really critical, and so these are the types of use cases we're seeing where trust becomes really key. I don't know you. You're from another market. I wanna hire you as a tour guide. How do I do that? Right, so it's being able to empower these guys and knowing that I'm going to be paid in a timely fashion. You and I can take that, all that pain out of the equation, and that's where we see digital payments and enabling digital trade. I think sometimes when we think of digital trade, we always think about physical goods. It's also services. It's also services that go in there. And markets like Thailand, frankly, are services like tourism where that can be really
so a lot of startups in the region work like this, on-demand services, not only physical goods. So Mr. Thanyapong, what about the Thailand market and Vietnam? I think you can give us some better picture about Vietnam market, right? Because you entered there already. About the development of digital trade in this market.
Well, the thing is, I'm probably not a qualified person
Okay, it's okay.
to talk about digital
Talk
trade.
about Thailand. It's okay.
Yeah,
More.
but I think what we see is from both Thailand and Vietnam, right? So many of the panelists already talk about bringing people to online platform, right? I mean, a lot of them currently are doing offline, selling at their shop. So bring those to online platform. There's challenges of doing that. But what for us, the one that we touch and we are, we look at experience from other markets, more developed markets, is also that for people who are doing either services or selling goods offline, right? What we are seeing apart from the digital trade, I think one of the barriers that we are seeing this small business is that the access to financing is actually very limited, right? Actually, my background is actually come from banking. So in the past, we look at this customer, right? We want to lend to them, but we can't lend to them because we have no information. Right? So the only thing we see is, okay, you have been set up this shop. Probably you have about 200 customers per day, and that's about it. Normally what banks would require for these people, they would say, hey, give us a 6 months bank statement, right? And if you do think about these people, when you ask for 6 months bank statement, that means every day I have to go to the banks to put the money in at the end of the day. And in the morning, I withdraw that cash out in order to operate my business, right? And that's simply not practical. And banks has been operating that way, for over 50 years. Even today, banks are still looking, at small SME traders the way it is, and that's why these people actually lacks, access to financing. What we are seeing in other market and what we are actually trying to venture into is, we will want to look at alternative data, that we can mine, that we can look at. We can look at those information and come up with a sort of proxy income, where we can actually look at that and lend to them. Right?
Is it information-based lending?
Information-based lending, which
so
otherwise
because you have partner like Ant Financial Services.
Which in the past is not available, right? I mean, simple things like not simple things like for example, there's a wholesaler who is doing cash and carry stores. In fact, there's a lot of useful information in that, right? A lot of SME actually shop at those wholesalers, right? And it's a member-based program, so you actually see what are the purchase that people make per month, what type of SKU that they purchase, are they purchasing more or are they purchasing less? So that information, it's actually very useful in order to come up with sort of underwriting of those consumers. But if you talk about, let's say, long tail customer, mom and pop shop, noodle shop, on the street. Once the migration, and in Thailand is actually happening, where all these shops, are currently accepted mobile wallet and mobile banking. Right? So these people now will be able to show to, let's say, lenders where, for me, I have 20,000 baht, accepted on my merchant wallet, right? And with that information, the lender can use that information in order to qualify, qualify them in providing access to financing. So we actually see this digital revolution that will change not just people making payment online, but it will revolutionize the ways people access to financing, the way people access to insurance services, the way people access to investment product. So that's how we see things will probably progress towards too. I think the question is just speed, right? How fast will that happen, and who is going to win that space?
So that is we talk more on the payment side, funding, and maybe support mechanism of digital trade. Any of you want to add on some other aspect of digital trade, like logistics or cross-border regulations, please? Yeah.
Everything is on early stage, but I'll give you an example what's happening in Cambodia, right? So we're partnering with the biggest supermarkets, right? Initially, we partnered with them on the basis of payments, okay? We have 1 million customers who have wallets, and we are giving you the opportunity to put in a Wing terminal and then accept a Wing terminal. And then we also have partnerships with Alipay and WeChat Pay, so that Chinese who are coming to Cambodia can also pay them. So they're okay with it. But what we discovered is that some of the people who are actually buying in supermarkets are actually asking a facility by which farmers, for example, can pay directly to the supermarkets because they provide their produce, right? Vegetables, But what they do is that, of course, they're coming from, say, Patombong, it's the source of very, very good cauliflower or some vegetables. So we solve the problem of payment, right? There's a middleman who's basically using Wing as a payment. And then we talk to some tuk-tuks, right? We talk to some tuk-tuks, can you do the delivery of this? They started out initially. Now there's some of the tuk-tuks are actually creating a platform by which they can deliver these goods straight from the farmers to the supermarket. And then we have very, very good startups that basically comes up with an invoicing solution, comes up and links it with Wing as a payment, and then we link the payment, the B2B payment of the supermarket. So this is now evolving. And to your point, if you're able to command a good level of trust across the system, they have a high level of trust to Wing as a non-bank solution, because everybody's talking about a credit card of the biggest bank, but now they talk about a credit card that's in a wallet, right? So those are examples, right? So you bring the goods to the market realistically by putting in all the puzzles together, and then you create opportunities for people. Like we also have again another example is that we are doing payroll for garment workers, but we discovered that 75% are women. The 25% who are male, their spouses don't have work, right? So we go to them, take a look at, what do you do? They actually cook the best fish amok, the best. So we consolidate, and then now how do you put it in a website, right? So somebody will create a website for them, the best amok in Takao, fish amok, and then they put it there. Again, these are bits and pieces, maybe about 100.
It's good.
It's good.
Use case. Yeah.
It's an interesting use case,
yeah.
But it is evolving, and I think this is the fundamental success that we can have is that we're really able to bring it down to the base of the pyramid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just want to bring back, the importance of the human capital aspect of this. I think we touch a little bit on one dimension of it, which is, I would say, the broadening or the digital literacy. How do we get people who are more familiar to offline to learn how to use online tools? But there is another actually dimension of all of this is actually there are emerging new industries which are in need of specialized skills, which simply, in the region or actually globally, it's very hard to come by. We're talking about things like cybersecurity, about data science, but even in blockchain, in e-sport itself, that's a big issue because it's such a new emerging industry. It actually cuts across so many fields of study, and we find actually, we have to work. We're actually working for universities in Thailand, signing MOUs to develop course in esports. because some of it will be sort of graphics, coding, and some skills, coding skills, IT. Some of them will be more creative, art, design, characters, location, design, games, which Thai people are already pretty good at. Part of it is involve performing arts, because actually esports, you need very, very good commentator to actually make it fun. So these guys actually, it's heart and soul of kind of esport activities. And then of course the event organizer, the business management around it. So one thing become very interesting is that people still view games as just a hobby, but given that the youth of today is so much passionate about games, you can use that as a motivator, a driver for them to learn other skills. So through games, which they like, they actually learn teamwork. When they play games together, they learn coding skills, they learn creativity, they learn art, they learn performance arts. You can learn many things from it, and that's what I want to see. That is, we're not just pure players, just consumers, but we can also become producers and contributors to this growing industry.
Okay. Yeah, great. For the last round of questions, I would like to ask as a topic's name, what needs to be done to take digital trade of CLMVT to the next level? I will start with Mr. Thanyapong first. Okay. Only, I would like, because you can share other aspects, but what is the key top prioritized key issue needs to be done to take the regional to the next level?
And again, right, I am not, I'm probably not qualified
in your point of view.
Yeah, to answer this, but we talk about trust earlier, right? I mean, the frictionless of the process, the trust, those are important. The literacy, I mean, whether just we will get my money if I put my stores online. So those are basics in my opinion, right? That has to be addressed.
It's getting solved, right? This issue of trust is getting better.
It's getting better, but I think what we have seen, probably this is more towards the Thai market, is that I think people are getting used to it, but the regulation also catching up. I think one of the regulation that's happening is the tax related, right? These merchants, either online or offline. In the past, when they sell goods online, basically it's being unrecorded, right? So they don't need to pay tax, right? When we go and we don't have an online or e-commerce platform, but when we try to sign up merchants to accept our wallet payment in Thailand, sometimes what we say is, hey, your incentive is good, your process is good, your wallet is good, but I'm not going to do it because hey, what happened if someone knows how much do I actually sell, right? So I mean people are getting used to the basic that we discussed, but once there's new regulation coming up, that's sometimes impacts the way they think about getting online. Getting online simply sharing more information, right, to either platform provider, regulator. So
do you think amnesty bills can help?
I'm sorry?
I mean, like, clear the table again, amnesty bills on.
Yeah, I think that's probably given, right? But even going forward, right? Again, it really depends on how each government would look at it. Right? Whether the government want to bring everyone on the table, right? And hey, let's have this information available, but we are not going to do anything about it until at a certain stage. Or for small merchants, they can operate the way they operate. So I think that's something that it has to be balanced. It's also unfair, right, for merchants to be able to sell goods without paying tax. So it has to be balanced. And that's I don't know about other market, but this is what we are seeing in Thailand.
Okay. So Naket, what's your take on this?
Sure. I break it down maybe into three areas. One I just call empowerment. The other one around literacy and inclusion, and the third is around fragmentation. And let me just talk about each one. I think in terms of empowerment, the idea is, and what I've seen is really from a policy perspective, and I think this is where regulators, governments can definitely play a role, trade associations, is really about demonstrating and educating businesses regarding the potential of how they can grow their business. I think sometimes there's a tendency just to stay, as I alluded before, to stay within the boundaries of a country, but it's really giving the business the tools to recognize the potential of what's out there. And with that comes very much about the financial literacy, as you alluded to earlier, about connecting the dots. And I think the challenge, and I would put myself, if I was an entrepreneur, the challenge is connecting all those dots. It is very fragmented, and it can be, as a small business entrepreneur, somewhat challenging. How do I put all these pieces together? Because today, all of them there are solutions out there. 100% there are solutions out there, but they're disparate, and it requires someone actually to connect the dots. And I think this is where governments, policymakers can really make a difference in helping the business community make these connections.
Dr. Saritan. Yep.
Yeah, I think maybe sort of good to step back a little bit, even though we talk about the digital trade system and so far very much focusing on taking everything online. I think it's important to take a step back and realize that online digital tools are not silver bullets. They don't solve all the problems. A lot of the problems which existed in offline, the logistics, getting to places, sending the goods there, regulations that keep changing, that one of our panelists also alluded to, are still the binding constraints to trade in offline, just as it is in online. So just because you have a much more developed digital economy, it doesn't make all these other issues go away. So do not forget the offline problems. Logistics is definitely one, the connectedness, that your ability to send your goods to the key destination, of course, for e-commerce is crucial. But also the soft infrastructure, the rules and regulation, the custom borders. We have one case, for example, where we helped one of SMEs selling blarak, pasteurized from Saraburi, I think. Went on our platform, Shopee, within 3 months, saw 150% increase growth. Amazing.
Nationwide. They sell domestic.
Nationwide. This is domestic. But then after that, something interesting happened because one of the importer found that, wow, this is very good blarak. So, and then probably markets outside. So they took the products and they started exporting to the Philippines, to Vietnam, to Australia. It's quite interesting, Australia, actually eating blarak, but anyway. But the point is that to connect these dots, you need the offline parts as well. If you have the custom borders, which is tough, you have poor infrastructure, you won't actually create that business opportunities. So digital is part of the solution, an important part, enablers, but it's not a kill-all. So we need, with the partner of the government, to work on the other aspects of the offline constraints as well.
Great, thank you. Mr. Elvin, please.
Yes, so I think I'll take off from that because that's a very important realization, right? So it's much like when everybody starts talking about the enemy is cash, it actually defeats, the objective of running and going to digital. And in Cambodia or in other countries, we have to highlight that people learn to be cashless by having cash and learning how to save by not having cash, right? So I think that's a very important, you have to go offline before you can go online, right? So But you know, that's just a takeoff from there. But in general, things that need to be done. I think we're doing a lot in terms of CLMVT consolidating its ranks. You know, this forum is a very important forum. We should be doing more of this, inviting more of our you know, superstar startups to come and share the experience. Successful, you know, mobile money players like True Money, like Wing, to consolidate and basically say that, you know, how are we learning, right? So, and that's coming from not only from the regulator perspective, who design policies that will sustain the financial integrity of the system in their own countries, but also governments that can, you know, create a framework by which, you know, payments can be facilitated, and the experience is going to be the same. Recently, the Thailand government and the Cambodian government came up with this, you know, they call it a single currency, wherein you know, Thailand tourists who come to Cambodia would not necessarily have to get a Cambodian riel or a dollar, but actually use their credit, use their, you know, digital tools to be able to be accepted here. In the same manner, Cambodian, you know, payment tools can also be accepted in Thailand without having to, you know, convert and all
like
that. So
bilateral.
Yeah, it's good. It's becoming a bilateral agreement wherein, you know, when I send you know, 2,000 baht to Cambodia, I don't need to have to go through that process of converting it into dollars. So these are important things. These are important next steps, and it can only be led by our governments, our regulators, and the private and public sector has to continuously cooperate. You know, it's not so bad to share, right? To share successes across. And therefore, I think, you know, like this forum, it's very important to highlight that. You know, I see a lot of startups across. I saw some startups from Cambodia, from Myanmar, and I think it's a start. And then, you know, you also share pain points. You know, you also share your failures, right? You know, I can spend the whole day telling everybody, you know, what are the failures that we went through that made us now, you know, a little bit successful, right? So I think those are the things that we have to share. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So His Excellency. So
I think from the regulator point of view, we are mostly talking about digital economy within the country, and then we go over up to the CLMVT. Then we need to do more, and in that area, I think WTO is doing something. You know, come up with some kind of statement on e-commerce, and also ASEAN is doing the e-commerce guideline. So what we do, we should invent CLMVT guideline, or should we follow the ASEAN guideline or WTO guideline or something like that? That we have to think about that. And then when we go across the border, sending their goods or things, there may be a problem with custom or border control or something. Then I think CLMVT countries should coordinate more how to simplify the custom procedure, how to expedite movement of things. You know? So then we need to cooperate. Even the using of currency. So I think if we had a bilateral agreement or maybe CLMVT agreement, maybe the central bank governor should work on this kind of thing. I think for the whole CLMVT as a e-commerce area, then I think the regulator or government should cooperate the issue. And in doing that, I think when the e-commerce businessmen may encounter a problem, and then they can discuss with this regulator so that we can solve the problem.
Okay, that is a really good initiative, and we hope the regulator in each country will take on it. Anyway, in Thailand, I think that we have a private sector that have played a major role in this digital trade, like e-commerce association. So I run startup association, which is more on like on-demand services rather than e-commerce. But we also have a Thai Payment Association, right? I'm not sure, Thai e-payment and Thai e-logistics association. That is the combination of digital trade run by private sector. Do you have any of this in your country? You said you are about to build, in Cambodia?
Well, again, Cambodia is a country of 16 million people, right? 70% of people are 30 years old and 35 years old and below. But there are associations of fintech. There are associations of some delivery or logistics. But these are more sharing what they have, right? Because in a nation state, when you are a startup and then you still are grappling to understand how you finalize your value proposition, how you get people to adopt and use your product. Sometimes forming associations like this curtails your momentum, right? So, but there are certain associations that the government is taking a lead. Like there's an association of banks. A confederation in Cambodia that basically takes care of coming up with some assistance in helping startups, because once you do that and everybody is new, instead of focusing on finalizing the value proposition, sometimes they get busy managing the association's requirements. But that's not to be negative about it. But there should be eventually, so to maintain the balance in the ecosystem.
So I think we might have the private sector level and then a public sector level work together. So it's coming to the Q&A from the floor. If you have any questions, please raise your hands, and I think our organizer will help send you the microphone. Please think about your questions, and this is a good chance to share your point of view to the panelists. I'll start with my question first. Okay. Talking about technology advancement, we touched a little bit about data scientists, blockchain. Will change a next phase of digital trade development here? Anybody want to add on this? About advanced technologies, deep tech, or more like, blockchain. Please.
I think so. But again, it's adoption, right? So it's very difficult to move people from getting rid of cash to cashless. But instead of using it as a means by which you have to use the blockchain technology, we have to do all of this Bitcoin exchange. We use it more as an enabler. For example, Wing has launched our international money transfer business. It's founded on the fact that when you go out, there are about 2 million Cambodians, both diaspora and both migrant workers. Right? When we have established the fact that we can actually accept their payments, the trust on Wing becomes a very important aspect, right? But everybody who's sending money are still sending money, even though Wing basically charges low, because they have partners who needs to go through SWIFT, who needs to go through all of this. They, it becomes still expensive, right? So, even if you partner with Western Union, even if you partner with MoneyGram, there's not much of a difference. But when they get into a technology where blockchain can actually help manage liquidity without them knowing it, and then when these partners, Western Union and all of this, starts using it to help manage without necessarily getting rid of SWIFT, but SWIFT is also going to that box, then it becomes helpful. It becomes important without necessarily, be flaunting it, right? So, and that I think is key, because we're dealing with people who, unlike us, are not so literate about making money, about how to have a business and be successful in it. So we have to bring them up along that line. It's important. I mean, it's like me, when we started introducing a QR code, master pass QR code to tuk-tuk drivers. I wouldn't, I can't imagine why I will need We need to have a master pass integrated with the Wings QR code. But lo and behold, they have MasterCard. And they have trust on MasterCard, they have trust on Visa, and they'll actually use it, right? So, or you have visitors coming in who has a MasterCard QR code or an Alipay QR code or WeChat who can use it, and it gives business to the tuk-tuk driver. So it definitely helps, but we have to be conscious about its impact on achieving the objective for the underserved, for the poor, to be able to bring their lives and improve their lives eventually.
Any question from the floor? Yes, please. Okay, mic's coming.
This is a question about taxation, and I apologize for not knowing the details of the CLMV tax infrastructure. I do know a little bit about it in Thailand, but I assume that the other countries have similar issues, specifically on countries collecting tax on cross-border online service delivery. So, for example, let's say my company in Thailand pays Facebook in Ireland for Facebook ads.
Yeah.
How does, the service is being enjoyed by me here in Thailand, so Thailand wants to collect some kind of tax, rightfully so. What are the ways of doing that you think will work? Because, of course, if it's built around just self-reporting, there's going to be a lot of avoidance. Just to explain a little further the problem, one of the ways that was pursued or is being pursued or talked about is to use like a value-added tax methodology. However, because most countries, certainly in Thailand, require that you have some documentation, which unfortunately still has to be piece of paper, to show that you've paid that in order to be able to claim it back. That doesn't necessarily work. Why is Google in Ireland or Facebook or Adobe in Luxembourg or whatever going to give me a tax invoice for Thailand? They won't be able to produce one. So how do we deal with this? And clearly every country wants to get their piece of the tax dollar.
That's great questions. About the Google tax. I think the economists, you should elaborate on this. Okay.
Yeah, it is admittedly a very tough question. I don't think there is a clear solution around it. I think, of course, in place as a platform, we try to help, to some extent, take some of the burden and help facilitate the process of tax collection and VAT reporting and these things. But I think one thing I just want to throw in there as well is that there's also an issue to think about when you think about taxation as what is the optimal timing. When is a good time to start really going after taxing a lot of these activities as well? Singapore, for example, made an interesting decision at its budget, I think it was last year, where people were expecting that they're going to be collecting some of the tax on these on value-added on their services, like so-called Netflix tax.
Yeah.
But then they decided, they would do this only after 2 years after. And I think that, come back to the point about the timing. You want the activities to take off to a certain stage first before, putting too much burden. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the tax rate or tax revenue itself. It's much more about the burden of proof, burden of actually getting to pay tax. That's the pain point. And if you do that too much, too early, it actually kills the business. And then you kill the business, and then you actually end up having less tax revenue later on. So I think it's very important to get that timing right and make sure that the business, the size, the volume increase significantly first, that it can take some of this extra burden to bear the burden of tax.
I'm not sure. I've heard that Indonesia has done something about this issue, right? Google tax, because it's big countries. It might be a good idea that we, CLMVT or regulators, should work together, combine, and see that it's time to talk about to the tech giant that whether they can be part of these solutions or not. Maybe Myanmar is one of a good example because our partner or our operations in Myanmar spend a lot of Facebook ads online, and that is money going out from Myanmar to Ireland maybe. So Facebook ads every week. I think a lot of entrepreneurs in Myanmar do this kind of things, right? What's your thought on taxation of these services?
I think you talk about Singapore has
Netflix tax.
2 years, no?
Takes 2 years.
Free.
Yeah, they have a transition period before actually start paying, collecting the tax.
But because it was talked at the WTO level,
Yeah.
whether we should tax or not, and then last WTO meeting in Buenos Aires has decided to defer it for another 2 years.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Okay.
But I think some of the country like India or other country are testing on this kind of services or something.
Okay.
But I don't know about what my people are paying for this. I will
So it will
investigate.
be a burden for entrepreneur, local entrepreneur. It will be a burden, right?
Yeah, so I think the two different kind of tax we're talking about here. So one is the income tax on the platform, right?
Okay.
On the when we talk about the Google case and Indonesia case, but there is also an issue which I'm more talking about is a VAT type tax. Whether we collect that on services or whether we collect that on some of the merchandise that came through e-commerce platform. I think those are separate issues, and I think for those it requires, as you rightly point out, quite a bit of burden to register all these sellers across different countries. There's a problem of enforcements. A lot of these costs, actually, I think there is a study done by, at least in an ADB study, saying that actually the cost of implementing this is actually quite significant, that it may even offset a lot of the potential tax earned, because the implementation cost for the government, the custom to restrict and make sure that there's no loopholes, is just so high.
For the VAT issue, I think Thailand has an initiative of e-tax invoice. Is it a good start? What your thought on it?
Yeah, no, I think the movement towards less paper trails, more efficiency, is always welcome, because the key is much more than whether collect tax or not, but to reduce the burden. And go back to my point earlier, we can talk a lot about the digital trading system, but at the end of the day, it's the offline part that needs to improve the general business environment.
Okay. Yes, next questions, please.
It's a very simple question. I have never used a wallet. I have never felt the need to use a wallet. Who and why do we need to use a wallet? Do I belong to a segment or it is used by a different segment? My life is going on very well without using a wallet.
Okay. So, okay, wings.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, and you're right in saying that are you the market that needs a wallet, right? So, to the unbanked, it becomes relevant because the unbanked do not have the capability to open a bank account where they can have a source of fund regularly available to them, right? So you talk about a garment worker, for example. What are the benefits of having your own, your wallet? If you have your own physical wallet, you have cash, you have your credit cards, you have some loyalty points that you can use anywhere because it's accepted by it's accepted by a supermarket, it's accepted by a department store, it's accepted by everybody. But for these people who do not have access to that, they always use cash, right? But we know that cash is expensive. Cash is very expensive. If I earn $200 and I want to transfer that tomorrow, that $200 to my wife, as soon as I get it, that $200 is already $205. Why? I pay $1 for my tuk-tuk to go to an agent. I transfer money, I pay 50 cents, I come back again and and send it 50 cents. I go back to my office 50 cents. So it's expensive. And this is the rationale by which you want to put wallets. Now, over time, There have been wallets created for you and me, you know, the Apple Pay or you know, all of these other wallets that come with it. So it serves different markets altogether. But for the markets that we serve, wallet is very, very important because they have a phone, right? And the phenomenon is always that they have a phone, and that's my only way by which I can get you included in the mainstream of financial services.
So, Mr. Thanyapong, I believe you have
Actually, a little bit based on
your sales pitch
Yeah.
to those who don't have.
Yeah, based on my experience. So if you don't have it, please download and use it. It's addictive. Yeah. So I think it's an evolution, right? And you know, just like everything else, right? There's a life cycle and there's different segments of people who use it. At the moment, I can see that there are three primary segments that are clearly using the wallet, right? The first group would be the people who like promotion. So we call it value seeker. So if you look at wallet today, right, everyone is like throwing out promotions, you know, here and there. So first there are people who are value seeker, who use the wallet to earn more points, get more discount, get some cashback. So those are the first group of customers. The second group of customers are people who, you know, want to access, let's say, goods online, want to purchase things online. Right? For some people, like students, early career workers, they may not have a credit card in order to purchase things online. Right? And Jenny Wallet, you know, is an alternative way to purchase those things online. You know, you can go to basically you can go to any retail outlet. You fund into the wallet, and you use the wallet to make a payment online. So those are the second group of customers. And the third group of customers is probably more, you know, you and me, and that's why, you know, I said go and download and use it. It's convenience. What we have found, and when we do the research, we have found that people actually feel convenient factor of using wallet. In Thailand, our wallet is accepted in 7-Eleven. And then you go to 7-Eleven, right? You purchase things like 28 baht 50 stang, right? The cashier will give you 2 baht, you know, 1 baht 50 stang back. So what happened, especially to myself, right? I mean, that is become a coin that I actually don't want. So, you know, I go home, put that, you know, in some box that I never open it again in 10 years. So people actually, you know, prefer that convenient factor. I have one of my friends who keep, you know, sending me message, you know, when you know, there's one period where 7-Eleven stopped accepting wallet for certain SKU, right? And he keeps sending me message, what happened? Why are you doing this? You know, it's like so inconvenient for me. So once people get used to it, right? I mean, like for example, every time now, when I go to 7-Eleven, I only use True Money wallet because I don't want to get cash. I don't want to get coin back. I just simply don't want it. So those are the third group of people who like the convenience.
So what is the demographic of your user right now? There are Gen Y or Gen X or the
majority are young. Right?
Young.
Majority are young,
Generation
right?
Y,
Yeah,
maybe.
majority are less than 35 years old. But we have people who, but again, just like everything else, right? There's an early adopter. An early adopter doesn't go by age, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, when iPhone come out, there are people who, you know, have to wait 2 days in advance in order to get the new iPhone. Versus people who, you know, you can, you know, bring me, you can queue me, I will not use it, right? So those are, you know, resistant group of people. But what we are seeing, right? These are the three groups of people who are using wallet today. It hasn't reached the critical mass yet. Eventually it will, because wallet will become smarter. Wallet will have a lot more features. It can do things that you can't imagine it will be able to do with the alternative method today. So once people or player reach that stage, that's where I think we'll wallet player will reach a mass population.
Okay, I think we can have one last question, please.
Thank you very much. Oh, actually, I'm quite addictive on using this wallet. So maybe I will have a different question. My question is, I'm not a Thai, but since I moved to Thai, I have this experience when I go to 7-Elevens, I got 2 baht, 3 baht, I don't know how to use it. So that's why once I know about the wallet, through wallet, so I keep using it. So I don't need to use the coins anymore. But there's 2 things that I would like, it would be great if you can share, if you have a strategy on the thing that I would like to confirm. One thing is, now I feel very inconvenienced because this True Wallet only can be used for some certain places, like maybe in 7-Eleven. But it would be great if you can expand nationwide in Thailand. So I just wondering, I've been waiting this for 1 year, but still I cannot use True Wallet in many places. Maybe if you can share what is your challenge in order to make it expand to nationwide. The second one could be in the future. It would be great because I'm also traveling across Southeast Asia. So every time I go to each country, they use a different currency. Unlike EU, you can use euro everywhere. So it would be great if True Wallet also can be expanded to Southeast Asia country. Assuming if you have a strategy to expand to Southeast Asia countries, I'm just wondering what kind of challenge do you have? Like Alipay, I think the Chinese tourists, they go everywhere, they can use Alipay or WePay. Yeah, so I'm just wondering if you have a strategy to expand to overseas as well. Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you very much for being our loyal users of True Money Wallet. Yes, I think it takes us a while to build up the merchant network, and at the moment we, apart from 7-Eleven of 10,000 shops, we also have about another 4,000 shops outside of 7-Eleven. We are now accepted at McDonald's. We are accepted at many restaurants, in Thailand. We also, going to, we call it long tail. These are small merchants who are selling service and goods on the street. So hopefully, we'll serve your needs, very soon. On the second part, there's an initiatives of Bank of Thailand and also national banks in CLMVT in developing an interpolarity QR code. So there's an initiatives where we Bank of Thailand and central bank in this region want to have a standard QR code in every country. So in the future, let's say the wallet, if you use a wallet in Thailand, you go to Myanmar, you can scan that QR code, your exchange rate will be calculated, and you can make a payment with the merchant in Myanmar. So it's an initiative that's currently in discussion with central bank. We also being called in to participate in that. So I think that will happen, in my opinion, in the near future.
Actually, we have a number of wallets here, not only True. Okay, to be fair, I'd like to let, maybe PayPal is one of the global wallet, actually.
So thank you for that. I do think one of the challenges is the term wallet itself. And wallets, it's one of those terms that's overused today. Every merchant, every business will claim they have a wallet or they're offering a wallet to you as a consumer.
Even bank also has.
Every bank does as well. So I think that's a part of the challenge. But one of the things when we think about wallets, I think, is really what's the utility you're trying to get from that. I think all of us up here I think one of the things, what's unique is we're not necessarily competing with each other. We're actually complementary to each other. And you as a consumer or as a business, I think you can leverage all of us for multiple solutions, whether it's a domestic use case, whether it's for gaming, whether it's for cross-border. We all serve different things, and I think that's what's special with what we can do. And I think the reality today is that's kind of how the ecosystem is set up. There are people that specialize locally, and there are people that specialize globally. I think just when we talk about numbers, you mentioned some of the players in China. PayPal, for example, has over 220 million customers around the world. So part of that is, it is a journey, continuing to build that footprint in more and more countries and more places.
So do you think we're going to see like a consolidation of wallets in the region soon?
Yeah, actually, I think that question really touched on a very important point, right? About this, because the wallet, it's actually go back to the payment infrastructure, right? And the payment infrastructure, at the end of the day, go back to the issue that we talked about earlier, which is the issue of trust. And the issue of trust, now when we want it to be cross countries, you have to have that trust on a cross-country basis too, because what it is that you have to, if you want a wallet to operate, the payments to work across countries, you need mutual recognition of each other's standards. Now, if the wallet owner is recognized, pass all the money laundering tests, pass all the KYC and everything in one country, is that standard accepted in another country?
Yeah.
Do we have a good national ID system to identify this person that is recognizable across countries? I think that's the hard infrastructure question that we need to solve first, and then we can get the sort of interoperable payment system, which then will come to a more convenient wallet interconnectivity.
Yeah. So,
I think we are one in saying that a wallet helps a lot, right? But to Tanya Pong's point earlier, it's all about source of funds, right? So if you are somebody who already has wallets, plenty of credit cards, and you want to use a wallet, how different is it with having to go to a 7-Eleven and then put your money into the wallet, or partnering with a bank that you have, which transfers money from a bank to your wallet, right? So because you want to use the wallet. But again, I think to everyone's point, the interoperability is going to happen, and it can be taken in different shapes or forms. Like what Tanya Pong mentioned earlier, there's already an initiative across CLMVT to standardize. Let's just talk about the payment facility, a QR code, right? Let's not talk about consolidating the wallets. Let's consolidate a payment system first. We're in whatever wallet you have, whether it's in Myanmar, in Thailand, in the Philippines, in Cambodia. When you go to Myanmar, all QR code, there's standard, I can use it, right? So I can get money from my wallet. And then when that's okay, that creates enough use case for everybody. Like PayPal can be, you will realize how helpful a PayPal account is if you have a PayPal account, because you can just basically use it as a source of fund available. You can realize the importance of a MasterCard when they start to bring down their rates in terms of transferring money from a credit card account to a wallet. Then it makes a lot of sense, because you now have a universal use case by which you will be, imagine if I come to Myanmar and I see a standard QR code in buying souvenirs, for my family back in Cambodia, whatever wallet I have, I'll use it, right? So I think these are the steps that we need to look at, because to his point earlier, there's a lot of infrastructure that you need to put up if you want to interoperate the wallets. Maybe you can start with the QR code first, right?
Yeah. So it seems like it's going to the way of democratize the payment infrastructure. Maybe you can add on as a regulator in Myanmar. So will you open more and more of the player like this to happen and let the competition lead the market? What was the idea?
not knowledgeable.
Okay. All right. So yeah, actually that's all for the question. Maybe I have a couple minutes left. Would you like to give a last words for the audience about the development of digital trade in CLMVT? Just last word to keep us watching and see the development of this. What's going on next in your thought? Nugget? Okay. Tell you first.
Yeah, I think digital trade, in my opinion, this is very, very important, and it will help society as a whole, right? And the inclusiveness, right? And that's probably the most important. You have people who probably have very good products, somewhere, outside of capital cities. And in the past, the only way they can sell is they either sell within that sort of nearby area, or they sell it to the middleman. Right? I think with digital, it's actually increase the reach of these people. Right? So overall, I think the digital trade, if we can't put this trade, either trade or payment on digital, it will actually help the society. It increase inclusiveness, not necessarily just financial inclusiveness, but also potentially trade inclusiveness, and that's also the objective of our government in CLMVT.
Nugget?
I just add that I think, as most of the panelists have said, I mean, we talk about how important it is, but one of the key things I see about what digital trade can do is create a different type of economy. So you actually have the potential now to actually start creating independent entrepreneurs, freelancers, who are not working for a boss, who are empowered on their own. And I think that's what's really powerful. As we talked about, it's no longer about selling to a middleman. You can take your goods or services, your creativity, sell online, and you're the boss now. And being able to do that, I think, is just is a great opportunity ahead in terms of this region.
Like sharing economy, gig economy, this kind of thing. Yep, good.
I think just leave with the message that I think we're on the verge, touching on a tipping point, and I think the huge opportunity is actually right in front of us for digital trade ecosystem in the region. Just in our space, looking at e-commerce, we think it's growing very fast, but the fact is, in ASEAN, it's still only about 2%, 3% of total offline trade. Just to give you perspective, China is 20%.
20%.
20% is 10 times in the ratio. Esports, Thailand have a pretty good population of gamers, 18 million, about 25% of population, but that's the only half of the US. Payments, we already talked about, huge population for unbanked. So various dimensions you can look at it. Just keep saying one thing, that we're just simply just scratching the surface right here. And with mobile phone penetration increasing, all this digital trade ecosystem improving, with help from governments, there's huge opportunities in the digital trading system
So
next
it
year.
means like in 2019, if we have this kind of forum again, it will be a drastic change.
Yes,
Yeah,
it will massive change. Yeah, and a lot of things that we say here will be very quickly obsolete. So hopefully we will get you updated next year.
Yeah. Okay, Elmer?
Yeah, again, taking off from that, I think the opportunity is so huge that you can have as many players as you can, right? The only thing is that we have to be able to protect the industry from a bandwagon mentality. Wherein, because of the opportunities, there's a lot of startups, thousands of startups. There are more startups that fail rather than
90% fail.
Yeah, because it's becoming a bandwagon, and it will become like that because there's plenty of money also available. People can test. But the important thing is that we have to accept the fact that even in small countries like Laos, like Cambodia, the opportunities are huge. And like Thailand, there's only a little bit of the opportunities being really taken advantage of. We take advantage of this opportunity, and only a little portion of the players are able to use that. So I think government will be able to help that, but government also has to go through that learning curve of understanding what it's all about. That's why these types of forums, again, as I said, it's very important. We can share experiences of what's happening in Thailand, probably, which is more robust in terms of where you are, or even other countries outside of the CLMVT, like Singapore, Hong Kong, Indonesia, where these are probably they've learned a lot. And the forum by which you share, the forum by which you create policies that will work will always be critical.
Yeah. So His Excellency, key takeaway for the audience.
When I visit Kunming, and I asked one of my colleagues to send it to a wholesale market, and one of the young lady come along with me, and he said, only the old people go to this traditional wholesale market. They only use the e-commerce. So he never been for 5 or 10 years, maybe 5 or 10 years, he's never been to this kind of places.
Oh.
So I think we need to change the mindset, and the new people, younger people going up, and then the mindset will change. Then we will have a more digital trade will be coming in. So the only thing that we need to do is we have to change the mindset of the people.
That's a great conclusion for today. Digital trade starts with digital mindset, and digital mindset is the new type of fuel that drive economies today. Entrepreneurs, regulators, and any stakeholder are working in the digital way, and it's faster than before. We will see what's going on in the next year forum. Thank you very much. Please give a big round of applause to the panelists. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And could you please give another round of applause to our moderator? Thank you so much for this wonderful session. And of course, to express our appreciation, we would like to invite Director General Trade Policies and Strategy Office, Ministry of Commerce, Thailand, Ms. Pimchanok Wonkhorn, to give a token of appreciation for our distinguished speakers, please. To all of you, thank you very, very much.